Good morning, students. We had discussion about mathematics and chemistry in the last 2 days, wherein we discussed about coordinate geometry importance and followed by physical chemistry part 1, importance in the first phase of JEE mains examination. Similarly, we discussed about how many questions we got from these two entities in 2019. What I want to bring to your notice is I will discuss about all the areas in maths, physics and chemistry. I don't leave any particular area because suppose if you leave total calculus and prepare only coordinate geometry, trigonometry and algebra, that's not good for any student because my discussion is here student should get perfection in all the areas. He may leave some chapters in the areas, but he should not leave the entire area. That's the concept I want to discuss. Suppose you are not perfect with coordinate geometry. That means you are not perfect in the entire coordinate geometry. You may be not comfortable in some lessons, but with other lessons you may be comfortable. That's what I have been discussing in the past 2 days. I told you to concentrate in straight lines, circles and 3D geometry. If you are not comfortable in conic sections, leave conic section. But it is not at all advisable to leave entire coordinate geometry. So, in the similar way, here now I want to discuss with the importance of mechanics in physics. You may be not comfortable in mechanics. You may feel that mechanics is a tough area for you. That means entire mechanics is not tough. Certain lessons in mechanics may be tough for you. You may not be comfortable in rotational motion, but you may be comfortable in Newton's laws, you may be comfortable in kinematics, you may be comfortable in circular motion. So let us search for the lessons where you are comfortable in a particular entity and try to do something better in the next coming 25 days in these areas where you are comfortable. So if you now look at mechanics, the lessons what I consider in mechanics, they are kinematics. Again, kinematics means two different parts, motion in one dimension and motion in two dimension. Next followed by Newton's laws of motion, followed by friction, center of mass and collisions, circular motion, rotational motion, gravitation and SHM also included in the part of mechanics now. When these lessons are considered at a time under the heading of mechanics, what I can tell you is 109 questions appeared in 2019 JEE mains. Remember, 16 slots were there, and out of these 16 slots in 2019, you got around 109 questions. So it is almost like 6 to 7 questions per slot. 6 to 7 questions you will certainly get from mechanics. Even if you look at 2020 phase 1 examination also, 36 questions were asked. In 6 slots in 2020, 36 questions you have achieved means again the same calculation we can arrive at. That is 6 questions per slot. In mechanics I am talking about. So what we can say from the past 2 years JEE mains examination calculations, there is a chance of getting at least 6 questions or 7 questions from mechanics part. Out of this mechanics part, the lessons what I suggest for you is, first of all, let us be confident on gravitation and then followed by SHM, because these lessons are not so tough compared to rotational motion. You will be comfortable. in gravitation and SHM. Now, if you look at the analysis of gravitation and SHM, in 2019, 14 questions were asked, and in SHM, 17 questions were asked. So, these two lessons at a time, if you consider 14 plus 17, 31 questions were asked out of 16 slots. That means 100% you are going to get one question from each lesson. But most important thing is the area where you feel discomfort in gravitation and SHM is you should be perfect with escape velocity, gravitational potential energy, orbital velocity. Suppose if you are not comfortable in these areas, let us do the things better for the next coming 20 or 25 days. But for sure, I tell you, gravitation is the chapter where from you can expect at least one question in the JEE mains. And similarly, simple harmonic motion, as I told you earlier, 17 questions were asked. 17 questions out of 16 slots in 2019 means 100% there is one question in each slot. But you need to be concentrating on loaded spring oscillations and then simple pendulum. All these things you need to be perfect with. Similarly, mostly in simple harmonic motion, you will be asked to calculate the time period or frequency. These are the two issues. In any case, you will be asked to calculate. So let us calculate these two parameters, these two variables, time period and frequency, in each and every case. So students, ask your teachers to teach you the different occasions to calculate the time period and frequency in simple harmonic motion. So let us concentrate on gravitation and SHM, where you get certainly two questions. As a whole, I recommend you to go with gravitation and SHM immediately, and then followed by next circular motion. Circular motion is the area where if you are perfect with circular motion, you can do things better in rotational motion also and work power energy. These are all interlinked. So what we can say is circular motion, work power energy, if you are perfect with 9 questions came from these two entities, work power energy and circular motion, 7 plus 2. 9 questions were asked in 2019 and in 2020, 5 questions were asked. So work power energy and circular motion, if you study well, you may get one question. But as far as kinematics is concerned, kinematics, the first and foremost important lesson. Kinematics, if you look at both one-dimensional and two-dimensional motion, 19 questions were asked in 2019 and 6 questions were asked in 2020. So again, what we can calculate is, certainly we get one question from kinematics in each and every slot. But my dear students, you need to concentrate on relative motion. When you want to do the things better, in kinematics, first of all you should be perfect with relative motion, and then followed by projectile motion. Projectile motion is the area where you should be perfect with. So let us start doing things with vertically projected bodies and bodies projected from the top of a tower, bodies projected with certain angle, making certain angle with the horizontal. All these are the different areas where you need to be perfect with. Immediately start doing the things. So as a whole, if you now consider, one question you get from kinematics, one question you get from gravitation, and one question you get from SHM. So mechanics, out of 6 questions which we are. So when you want to do the things better in mechanics, the suggested chapters till now, what I suggested is, first of all, get confidence over kinematics. That means both in one-dimensional motion and in two-dimensional motion. Remember, you get more questions from two-dimensional motion. That means majority of the questions may be asked from projectile motion, where you got 10 questions in 2019 and 4 questions in 2020. So Unless until you are perfect with the two-dimensional motion, don't expect that you do better in kinematics in JEE mains examination. But there is a 100% chance to get around to get 100% one question in kinematics, followed by gravitation one question and SHM certainly you get one question. So till now, out of the 6 questions what we are expecting from mechanics, 3 questions I told you that you will get from kinematics, then gravitation, and lastly SHM. And the next lesson what I recommend is center of mass and collisions, where from you got around 14 questions in 2019 and 8 questions in 2020. So center of mass and collisions, when you do this chapter, 100% there is a chance of getting one more question. So out of 6 questions what you get from mechanics, the distribution what we can expect is kinematics certainly you get one question, gravitation one question, SHM one question, and center of mass and collisions putting together one question. So 4 questions certainly you get from these 4 lessons, and the next 5th lesson, the 5th priority is that is circular motion and work power energy. Circular motion and work power energy is the 5th choice. So if I consider the order of priority to prepare in mechanics area, the first option what I suggest you is first recommendation is first of all perfect with gravitation, and secondly what I suggest you is SHM, and third important chapter to cover is kinematics, both one-dimensional and two-dimensional motion, and fourth important lesson is center of mass and collisions, and the fifth one is work power energy and circular motion. Newton's laws and friction, that is up to you whether to prepare or not, that is left to the choice of the student. So when you want to answer 6 out of 6 questions or 6 out of 7 questions asked in mechanics, you need to study each and every chapter. But if you want to do at least 50% of the questions out of 6, if you want to answer at least 3 questions, my recommendation is do gravitation perfectly, followed by SHM, followed by kinematics. Certainly you get 3 questions, and if you are interested in, take up center of mass and collisions also. So there is a chance of getting 4 questions out of these 4 lessons. So this is the order what I suggest you to prepare for mechanics. So till now the covered number of bits, if you consider, as I told you earlier, from coordinate geometry, I suggested you to go for straight lines, circles, 3D geometry, where from you get 3 questions, and then chemistry also I recommended you atomic structure, stoichiometry, and equilibria. Again, from these 4 lessons you get 3 or 4 questions, and mechanics, if you now look at it randomly, what I suggest you is gravitation, SHM, kinematics totally, center of mass and collisions. So the weightage is almost now 3 plus 3 plus 4 going to be 10 questions. Out of 75 questions, there is a chance of answering now 10 questions. 10 into 4 means 40 marks you can score out of 300. So be perfect, be serious enough in the first, in the next coming JEE mains examination. I wish you all the best. Thank you.